You know what that is? Discipline. Selfish.
No joke. We're legitimate.
Fucking do that? Then do it. Do it 100%, because I'm trying to.
We recognize that we are limitless.
You gotta be a champion, become a champion, right? Winning is a habit because we create habits that lead to good execution and success.
And welcome, everyone. This is episode 63 of The Coach's Show. I'm Coach Mike Bianca of San Diego Dynasty, and with me, as always, is my friend and coach of Red Legion, Ryan Gray. Okay, tonight, our special guests, our coaches, and we've done this before. You guys know what time it is, right? Tonight, live from Colorado, Kevin S.K. Bredthauer of Tampa Bay Damage. And, of course, from some, I think, bathroom, Shane Pestana of the LA Ironmen. We're going to discuss all things NXL Tampa, the Summit Awards, the WNXL, the Semi-Pro Division. Lastly, we'll discuss the pro brackets and make our picks for the Sunday Showdown. This episode is brought to you by Max Sportswear. If you're playing the NXL or a regional league, contact Charles today because he's got some contingency details. Trust us, you'll be well worth your time to reach out. Remember, for all your custom paintball goods and now some contingencies, get maxed. And BKI, the best knowledge in paintball. If you want to elevate your game, join BKI. New platform and content is on the way. Use code COACHSHOW to let them know you heard it here. If you're a manufacturer, brand manager, store, or field owner and would like to support the show, we need you. We have a new pricing structure for 2025 and are eager to discuss how we can partner with you. Please contact Ryan through our social media channels or hit him up at ryan@thecoachesshow.live, BKI, where you can quite literally learn from the best one-on-one. All right, big show tonight. You know, not just a few days away from NXL Tampa. It's time to bring the boys in and get this party started.
I just realized so much of that I chopped up in the copy and paste. The BKI was at the end. Oh my gosh, man, I'm tired. It's been a heck of a day. This is my favorite. These are my favorite episodes that we do all year long, getting to sit here with these two guys, talk about each event as it's about to occur. I love when we get to do these pick'ems kind of after we get a little experience with the layout and kind of see what's going on. And especially when we've had such a crazy, chaotic off season like we've just experienced, I think that it may be a little bit easier to kind of pick, but we don't know, right? We'll make our picks and then we'll see what happens. I think last year coming in to that first pick, I know I was a little nervous just simply because the division was so crazy in the pro. And there were so many question marks. Whereas this year, I don't know that we have as many question marks. I still think the middle, there's quite a few question marks, but I do think there may be a little more of a top and bottom solidified. We'll know, of course, after, in 8 days, we'll kind of know what's going on. But we have a lot of stuff to talk about. We're going to try to jam through this as quickly as possible. I have to get up at 3:30 or 3 o'clock in the morning to catch a flight to Tampa. So it's going to be, I'm not going to be doing good. If you see me in Tampa tomorrow and I don't say hi, I apologize. It's not because I don't love you. It's because I'm really, really tired. Nonetheless, so the Summit Awards, right? So we're going to bring the guys in. We'll kind of talk through the Summit Awards. We'll start there. One, I want to talk about a little bit about the Vegas experience we had last year. If you guys missed it and you didn't go, if you're going to be in Tampa and you got to go to the Summit Awards, if you change your flight, if you haven't already, you need to go to these awards. It's a very significant kind of benchmark in sort of the professionalism of our sport and our game and what we're trying to push to. It really adds an element of professionalism that we really haven't had in the past. One of the other cool things that occurs there, it's one of my favorite parts, is the Hall of Icons, which are kind of the guys who've sort of gone away from the game. Gives us an opportunity to celebrate them. You know, there were so many guys that went away through the early parts of my career that just kind of were forgotten, right? And Shane will be able to speak to this as well, because some of those guys he played with that I'm talking about, but they kind of stepped away from the game for whatever reason, and then they're just gone, right? Like they're talked about for a year or two, and then they kind of go away. You know, having this sort of Hall of Icons gives us an opportunity to continue to celebrate those guys. So it's a big deal.
I agree. And something else we're doing this year that we didn't get weren't able to do a lot last year was we've seen the layout now before we make our picks. So this should make it a little bit easier.
Yeah, well, let's bring SK in. It looks like we may have lost Shane. So when he comes back in, we'll get him. Something must have happened in the porta potty he was in, and he dropped out. So we'll bring SK in and then Shane in a bit. Good evening.
How are you guys?
Good, buddy. Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I was looking at a comment really quick.
Yeah.
So you were at the Summit Awards last year. Kind of what were your thoughts?
I was actually completely surprised by it. Like and like I had a couple friends that actually came and watched the finals and then went straight, like basically from there to the Summit Awards. And they're non-paintball people, so they came and they were like, "Wow, this is this big," and I was like, "Not normally, but it was this year, so it was pretty awesome." So I don't know, I really enjoyed them. I thought they were really cool. I don't know exactly what kind of place it is they're holding it at. Do you know that, Ryan?
Yeah, so it's
I know it's in Ybor City, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm. It's at Club 1920 in Ybor City.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's kind of dig into some of these awards. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this, but we can kind of go through the ones at least that are kind of player driven. We don't want to get into all the other ones just simply because we could easily make an entire show just around that, and there's going to be a show at the Summit Awards. So we won't really get into all that. So let's start with the offensive player of the year. So here's the nominees: Alex Rodriguez, Axel Gaudin, Alexander Barytnikov, Justin Cornell, and Keith Brown. Mike, why don't you go first? What are your thoughts on these?
I don't know if Mike's frozen or is he?
No, he's moving. All right, SK, we'll go with you.
I actually, maybe I just don't, I'm not super clear on like exactly which one's which, but I really thought Kirill should have been in one of these, and I don't think he is in any of them, is he?
To me, it's pretty simple. It's pretty cut and dry. If you look at the NXL and then even include the European NXL.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with Mike. Yeah, I just kind of dropped him off. We'll see what's happening there. He's struggling hard. So
I couldn't hear him like much at all.
Yeah, let's see if Shane's good.
Hi,
Shane,
boys.
are you good?
There we go.
We're figuring it out.
All right. What a mess tonight is.
The light shit went down. We switched devices. We're rolling now.
Yeah. That's what happens when you're trying to, log in from a porta potty. So
the porta potty was definitely causing issues. Yeah. So I think I'm here. Yeah. So what are we doing first?
Yeah, so we're an offensive player of the year. So it's Alex Rodriguez, Axel Gaudin, Alexander Barytnikov, Justin Cornell, and Keith Brown. And SK was just kind of giving his thoughts. So SK, continue.
So I just thought Kirill should have been in this somehow, because I mean, Malloy was in the snake player as well, wasn't he? I assume he was. He should have been.
Yes.
So I just kind of like I just don't really get it. But I mean, of these guys, I mean, I'm a little biased just because I saw the European tournaments too, and Malloy was just a menace. So like in Portugal, like that's probably one of the best I've ever seen him play. And then he was obviously excellent in Paris as well. So if I was going to lean one way, I guess it would be with him.
Shane?
Well, my question is, can he win both? Because that kind of tells you where I'm voting for Icon.
Yeah,
I don't see why not.
Yeah, I think he might be in. I don't know if he's in the Icon. I think he's Snake Player of the Year and Offensive Player of the Year. When we get to the
he's in the Icon too.
Well, there you go. So maybe he could win 3 awards.
Yeah.
I mean, you know where I'm voting for Icon. We watched him a lot this year, and the kid was just a savage all year. So if I was going to if you could win both, I would give it to him. I'm the offensive player. I mean, every player on this, all 5 of them are really good, but he was a standout this season by far, in my opinion.
Yeah, Bredthauer would get my vote as well. I thought he was unbelievable this year. And I agree with Skinny. It wasn't just here. He was so good in Europe as well. He's just in Portugal, he was lights out.
Yeah.
Lights out. So, all right. Well, let's move on to, and I hate this term, defensive player, because I don't think, really these guys are not really what I would consider to be defensive, but yeah. I got too much stuff going on. Okay. Jason Edwards, Sergei Shelnyskov, Marcelo Margot, Colt Lukau, and TJ Danner. In my opinion, there's only really 2 guys on this list that are like defensive. The rest of them really aren't. But anyway, SK, what are your thoughts here?
Which 2 do you think are defensive?
TJ's pretty defensive. Jason's pretty defensive.
Yeah. I mean, Marcelo's pretty similar as well. Like Sergey is not like that. So
yeah.
And, I mean, I guess Colt, to me, this is more like is awesome at shooting off the break, is a great communicator, and like puts himself in the right spot. Like, is that kind of what you think of it, Ryan? Like,
I don't know.
That's a different position,
Yeah,
so
they're not really defensive.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they definitely counterpunch and win a lot of games by closing things out. So how's that defensive? But they're, like you said, in the right position, communicating, controlling the narrative. That's but that's this is actually a tougher. I'm having a harder time with this one than the offensive side. I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I Marcelo probably, TJ, Colt, any 3 of those guys. Because again, Sergey's definitely not defensive.
No,
like not even a little bit.
Yeah.
And Jason was really good last year too. So, but again, when I think about defensive, I don't think about any of these guys, to be honest. I TJ a little bit, again, just simply because TJ's not normally the guy who's gonna. If TJ gets up and makes 2-3 moves in a row, something bad has happened, right? Like he's a little more defensive now. With Sergey will pass 4 bunkers. That's not abnormal for him. Colt will go through the middle of the field and close games. Like that's not defensive, but I don't like, again, Marcelo or TJ, probably I would pick out of this pool. If I'm thinking about being defensive, it's probably one of those 2 guys.
I think we're on the same page.
This is a weird one.
Yeah, maybe I just don't understand it right.
Yes, that's kind of what I feel.
I just don't think they have a better word for it, which is like maybe that's what we need to help them with.
Why can't it be the second attacker?
Well, then there's the flex player, and I just don't know what that means either. So, like,
I think that's like well, we'll get there. I think that's the next one, right? So we'll talk about that. Yeah. But I think, like, when I think about a flex player, hey, Shane, turn your phone sideways.
I could do that.
Bam! There you go.
Holy smokes, we're alive. The porta potty just got bigger.
Yeah, it did. The toilet got larger. Yeah. When I think about flex player, I think about like kind of a utility person that you can sort of put anywhere on the field. You know what I mean? So I don't know which these guys are mostly those guys. You know, Ryan Greenspan, Alex Rodriguez, Nick Laval, Brian Smith, Justin Rabikoff. They are guys you can kind of put everywhere.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean. Like, I think Ryan played literally everywhere. So
yeah, he's like a flex. I look at it as like, if I did it in numbers, the offensive players are ones, the flex players are twos, and the defensive players are threes. Now, how do you word that in an award? I know we all are on the same page, but that's kind of the way I look at it. That's the way, in my mind, when I'm building lines to play, that's the way I kind of build them off the number. That's in simple terms, straight from the porta potty, simple terms.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who is the best flex player from 2024? Mike, turn your phone sideways.
Look at that. See, it wasn't just me.
For me, I would pick Ryan just because he's played all those spots, like every spot. Like A-Rod didn't. He was pretty much always the three, kind of like he wasn't really ever a one or a two ever. So for me, Dorito side, snake size, I would probably pick Ryan. But I mean, like we've said before, all these guys are great players. So.
Well, usually your twos are your best players, or they're the ones that do the dynamic moves. I mean, for me, I would go with Rabikoff. I think he had a great season, and he won a lot of points for that team. And I mean, they won some events this year, and they were pretty dominant all year. And he played off the chaos that was happening in front of him. So that would be my pick on this. But all of them are great. I mean, we know that. It's not like, but that would be my pick out of this group.
Mike?
Yeah, I've got it. And look, this is not a bias. This is simply based as a fan. I do believe it comes down to one of two players. That's Ryan Greenspan and Justin Rabikoff. But I have to go with the fact that Ryan played everywhere, quite literally. So I've got to lean towards Ryan Greenspan.
Which is a great choice. I mean, Ryan's been a beast for centuries. So,
yes.
Well, at least 2.5 decades. It would be my
for
thought.
Sure.
But,
I felt this. I felt the same way. Like, again, if I think about flex player and kind of what that means, I do think Agent was really good last year.
Yeah.
But I think Ryan and Justin both. There were multiple times Justin would shift over to the Dorito side of the field, even if it wasn't a part of the play, just to create the push on that side of the field if need be. I think Ryan by design played all over the field. So, I think either one of those two guys, Ryan or Justin, would be probably should be the standouts in this group. Here's a question I have. Who's missing from this list? Because I can think of one player who's missing from this list that's kind of a travesty.
Ooh.
Meter Ninos.
I'd listen. Yes, Meter Ninos.
Why isn't Meter on this list?
I don't know. I also don't understand why Kirill isn't on one of these. Did you guys mention that?
People in the chat, Kirill should have been on the offensive player of the year.
Absolutely. Just to bring me up to speed real quick, if you don't mind, who did you pick for the offensive?
We all picked somebody different.
Oh, really?
No.
Alexander
Bredthauer.
I'm like, come on, that's a no-brainer to me.
Yeah.
Malloy, And that's what I was saying before.
If you want us to back the whole show up for you, we're not going to be here all night, right?
No,
So
I don't want you to. I just want you to back it up to defensive player of the year.
Yeah. Well, you just went to offensive. Now you want us to go back to defensive?
Yeah.
Just that far. Just defensive.
It's all about him. It's okay.
Well, I do want to say I thought there was a player missing from the defensive player also, and I thought Drew Bell should have been on that list, and he wasn't. And I thought that
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I felt that was a travesty a little bit. So.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So we agree Ryan Greenspan, Justin Rabikoff probably from this list.
Mm-hmm.
And this is all fan voting, right? This is part of the fan voting stuff.
Agreed.
Yeah. It'd be interesting. All right. Breakout. This was a fun one. Breakout player of the year. This might get some we might have some different opinions on the breakout player of the year.
Yeah.
So Mark Miterman, Tim Stetzel, Ryan Hoskinson, Archie Barnes Jr., and Cyrus Gehringer. Great list. Mike, we'll start with
great list.
I feel like this is the list that they got almost spot on for this one. I think this is the 5 best players that I would put in this category. Miterman, I felt like Miterman he's the one who brought Uprising. He gave them that snake side attack that they were in, for lack of a better term, we're lacking. And he brought that. I mean, and it was a smart, meticulous attack. I thought Mark Miterman was really good on that. Tim Stetzel, my goodness, man. He shows up and starts playing that role and is just killing it for X Factor. It's hard to deny Ryan Hosky. Last year was Hosky's rookie year, correct? Yep. I mean, ABJ, you want to talk about an impact? I think everybody was looking for this guy at the end of the season, right? And, Gehringer, he definitely played a major part in his team's success. Here's the thing, though. For me, I like all of these guys. I really do. But I'm trying to look at certain elements, right? So Ryan's rookie season, ABJ's second season. Second. Mark Miterman's initial impact. It's hard for me to ignore Tim's performance for X Factor. This is a tough one. This is a really tough one for me. But I'm going to have to kind of give the edge to Tim a little bit. Yeah.
Solid. Yeah. Shane, how about you?
I mean, like you said, they all played in a role for the success of each one of their teams. And they're not, that quote of a nobody play, but they're not the household names that we've been hearing for the last, 5 years or what have you, or 3 years. But for me, I felt Ryan just came onto the scene and he propelled Shock. Whenever you saw Shock doing really well, he was at the forefront of that. They make it to the finals in Atlantic City, and he was a big force in that factor. But I think I'm gonna have to go with Ryan. I think he was definitely, everybody had an impact on the team, but I think I would, and like you said, there's not a wrong answer out of this group, but I think I would go with Ryan on this.
Solid pick.
Yeah.
If they're on this list, they had an impact, right? So
I agree.
Yeah.
SK?
For me, I think Cyrus. He played in the finals at World Cup and played awesome.
Yep.
That's a breakout.
He did break out a cup.
Did he win the golden barrel too? I don't know how you could break out any more. So that's obvious.
I also picked Cyrus. Because I think about breakout the same way you do. It's like at one or two events, who was the player who literally elevated their team? And you can't deny that Cyrus, not only on the field, but also emotionally away from the field, elevated his team's success with his energy and his antics and, kind of getting a little bit lawless. And I thought Cyrus was certainly the break. I mean, last year at the beginning of the year, the kid was sitting on the bench He didn't even really get opportunities in Vegas. And then, you know, at World Cup, he's winning golden barrels. I mean, breakout for sure, right?
Yeah.
Ryan Hoskinson to me is right there. He's probably the second because I think he did the same thing. I think Tim, you know, carried the majority of the spins for X Factor on I think every point in Atlantic City and played outstanding. Maybe that was Chicago, but played outstanding. I mean, he's right there. Again, with Mark, I think Mark had as many boneheads, maybe made traditional rookie mistakes that kind of rookies are supposed to make, but still had a bundle of them. And then Archie, I thought for it being his second season, I don't know that I would consider what he did breakout. He was certainly the best player on his team by far. But he became when he didn't have opportunities to go down and take packs and backs, Archie was a little less impactful. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I don't know that. And also I think some of the other notorious guys, they did carry some load as well. So yeah, Cyrus, in my opinion, it should sweep this one. Should. He did win the Golden Barrel and MVP. Yeah, there you go. Isn't that what you get for MVP is the Golden Barrel?
I don't think so. No, I think they're two separate awards.
Yeah, it's like the event MVP and then the finals MVP, right? Is that the difference?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never won either one of them, so I have no idea.
You know.
Neither.
Well, neither have I.
All right, let's talk about the icon. And I guess I don't really know what this word means, but Justin Rabikoff, here's Meter Ninos, Alexander Barytnikov, Ryan Greenspan, Colt Lukow, and Jacob Edwards. SK, we'll start with you on this one.
Yeah, I'm with you too, because like to me it's not just like the player part, right? Like Marcelo won last year, and he's got like his podcast and other things like paintball related, USA stuff, things like that.
I believe it's who's impactful, not just on the field, but off the field as well. You know, growing the sport, et cetera, type of thing. The face.
Right. Oh. Yes, I'm not really sure.
Can I just have this line for Tampa? I'm going to play these five. I'm just going to play these fives a lot, and we're going to just let it rip. What do you guys think?
Oh my God, this is a fantastic line.
It really is.
Oh yeah, there's your snake eye. There's your Dorito one. Oh yeah, this is a real good line right here.
I think. I think I'd win 1 or 2 points, maybe. Yeah, So
I love it.
If this award truly is about on and off the field, I don't know how Ryan doesn't win this. Although Colt does a ton. I don't know if you guys saw that video that Verb just put out. It was amazing, very well done. Colt could win this one too. Colt could win this one.
I think Meter could win it also. He does a lot, and he's a good guy, and he's a face that everyone knows, and but like you said, it's kind of it's a weird award. Is it, the best player, or is it like, I look at Icon of the Year as like the MVP out of all the players for the season.
Let me ask this question.
That's what it means to me, but you guys are saying it's not just on the field. Yeah. So that kind of changes for me. Who
is missing? So knowing that it's not just the stuff that occurs on the field. So great player on the field, great ambassador, paintball, philanthropic person away. Who is missing from this list?
Oof. Put us on the spot, man. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I don't know how Alex is not on this list.
Oh.
I mean, he recreates Gab Magazine. He puts his own money into creating this film. I mean, I don't know how Alex is not on this list.
Yeah.
That is a great point. That's a great, which, by the way, in my opinion, then just puts more into the Greenspan, aspect. So, but you're absolutely right,
sure.
Ryan. And he puts his heart and soul into that stuff, and it's incredible material. So, yeah, I think that's a great point.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to coach. Who's missing from this list? When I bring it up, SK, who's missing from the coach list?
Joey's missing from this list.
I think Joey's missing from this list.
I think Joey's missing from this list.
Yeah, I would agree. Joey is missing from this list, right?
Yeah.
Joey is missing from this list. All right, Kevin Bredthauer, Todd Martinez, Max, Dave Bain. I'm sorry, I'm not even going to try to say Max's last name, and I talk to him all the time, and I still don't know how to pronounce his last name. Ryan Brand, Casey Harris. So we all think Joey's missing from this list. He should be on it.
Yes.
He's not.
Yeah.
So of the people on the list, who you got, Kevin?
It's Max won 2 events, won the series, was consistent. Like, what World Cup was the worst one, and what did they get? 5th, 6th, something like that.
I think 5th. Yeah.
And 2 thirds and 2 wins. Yeah, that's it should be his. Yeah.
Yeah. Shane?
Yeah, for me, I thought the Russians were a Red Legion. I thought they were the best team all year, the most consistent. They were the force all year, and he kind of was directing that ship, and he's got a lot of personalities to deal with. Those guys have been playing a long time, so I think I would go with Max. And if I was going to go somewhere else, I would probably go with Casey Harris, just for the simple fact, first year in the pro division, and to navigate that and then go win World Cup. I mean, what a roller coaster ride for those guys, So, but I mean, for consistency, I felt the best team all year. I would go with Max.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. I think it's Max, obviously, right? But you could make an argument. Absolutely, I was just gonna say, Shane, you can make the argument for Casey Harris. Yeah. I mean, the fact that he, if you look at the beginning of their season, and then you look at the end of their season, I mean, that's what coaches do, right? We're the teams, we want to improve. We want to improve that trajectory, and I think Casey did that. But I think you would be hard pressed not to look at what Maxim did for the Legion.
Yeah, agreed. I think it depends on how people look at. Obviously, with it being a crowd vote, I do think Casey will win it. Just simply because I think a lot of people love that story and appreciate, the emotions that we all got to experience at World Cup. So I think Casey does have a great chance of winning it. Depending on how you look at it, is it harder to get to the top or stay at the top? We have that conversation, a decent amount on this show. It's really challenging to do what Max is doing, and to do it in the fashion that he did it. They won the series by 133 points. Which is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at it from that perspective, Max is certainly the lock. But to watch what happened with Paintball Fit, and I think not only with Paintball Fit, but Casey himself as a coach also improved significantly and very rapidly throughout the year. So, depending on kind of how you look at it, I think either one of those would be a great pick. Either one, if either one of those won it, I would be really excited. So, not that if Kevin wins it, I'm not going to be happy for him. I will, but I'll feel like the other guys got robbed.
Yeah, I would feel that way too. Like I know better.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the WNXL. So, really, all we want to kind of think about is who do we believe are going to be the top 2 teams. Keep in mind, we did have 2 new teams who joined the league this year with the Immortal Angels from Paintball Indiana and the Baltimore Nevermores from NR Paintball in Maryland. So, who wants to go first on this one? WNXL.
I'll go first. I'm a little biased on this because I do coach the San Francisco Sirens. Yeah, so they are the local pro team that is in my backyard, and pretty much we were at the paintball field every weekend with them, and so that'll definitely be one of my picks to win it all because I'm very biased and I'm very connected to that whole team, and I will be coaching them in Tampa also.
Wow.
And then after seeing what the Heroines did to everybody at World Cup and how they were playing, but not a no-brainer because I think this division's getting tighter and tighter, and the competition's getting, it's getting more competitive, almost like our division is. It's getting that parity. You're starting to get there was a lot of separation from the bottom teams and the top teams, and it's starting. The bottom teams are coming up, and the top teams. There's a lot of movement in the WNXL also. So I think it's going to get, it's going to be a tighter year this year for all of them. They're just not going to dominate like they did last year. But I would go the Heroines and the San Francisco Sirens as the top two teams, and hopefully the Sirens come out on top. That's my crew. That's my family now.
All
so
right.
If you guys don't pick the San Francisco Sirens, I'm logging off right now. That's where we're
okay. All right. Well, it's been nice visiting with you.
Well, bye.
Bye, guys. I love you too.
Well, I feel like obviously I think everyone would pick the Heroines that's here just because they've won the most of any of these teams, and they did lose Jen though, right? Jen's not on the team. Mm-hmm. So that hurts obviously, but I feel like they still have depth. But and then Vibe I feel like has done the best as so far, so they certainly have the experience for that. But I mean, I think Shane is right. Like all of the, especially the newer teams, like they accelerate their getting better faster than a team that's already up there. So. Yeah, I would just say Vibe and the Heroines, but I mean, I think Shane is correct.
Yeah. I actually had Heroines down, and of course, the Vibe. I had the same picks. However, the San Francisco Sirens, I'm going to have to start paying attention because
there you go. There you go.
So and that's not blowing sunshine up your bahookas. That's. It sounds like you've got a good camp there. You're out there playing as often, and that's what it takes, right? I think it shows if you got that love for the game and you're out there every weekend, you're putting in the work. It's necessary. Shane, you've seen the division, you've watched the division, and if you're calling your people, not just because you're biased, but because you believe, then that's something that's got to be paid attention to. I think they're missing the Cheetahs this year. The Cheetahs went away, and a lot of that talent filtered out. Some to Heroines and some to Vibe, which is why I was going with that. But I wasn't familiar with that new information, so we'll see.
I'm definitely biased. It's okay.
All right, please don't log off. But I'm gonna.
Bye, guys.
For me, it's Dallas Vibe and the Heroines. I think that they're the two teams to kind of until I'm proven wrong. Right, they're going to be, in my opinion, the two teams to beat in that division. Both those teams work really hard, which like when you're a young team and you're trying to catch the people above you, if they're still working really hard, it's just that much more difficult. You have to figure out ways to work twice as hard and get twice as much out of every drill that you do and every scenario that you do. And it just becomes a very daunting task, right? And the other thing that I will absolutely agree with is as the division seasons year over year, it is getting closer, right? The competition's getting better. It does seem like we've had a decent amount of turnover from last year to this year with two new I think last year we also had two new teams come in, and then we had the expansion, so it ended up being 4 new teams. Hopefully they'll kind of stop maybe at 10 and let those 10 teams kind of build out, if you will, and maybe we'll start to see some farm programs in the amateur division grow. I did see an interesting sign up in the amateur division with several of the old sorry, that's not, I didn't mean that when I'm talking about women. I shouldn't say some previous professional WNXL players who have now registered in the amateur division, which is, I mean, that's cool to see, right? They kind of went away and now they're coming back, which is great. So maybe that'll be an opportunity for some of those players to filter up into other teams potentially throughout the season. But yeah, I think right now Dallas 5 and the Heroines are the top two for sure in that division. So I do
By the way,
go ahead.
That amateur team you're talking about, I believe it's Protocol XX.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good team.
Yeah, they're going to be good. They'll be really good.
Yeah, Kat, Jesse. I mean, that's a squad, dude.
Yeah,
Jackie.
It'll be rough. Yeah, it was unfortunate with the Cheetahs because they were really, they're on the cusp of making the kind of fight for that top two spots. Because it's been the Heroines and Vibe for, kind of for the last couple of years, and them dissolving and those players kind of going throughout the teams in the division. I think and a lot of it's top heavy, but I think it's going to bring a little more parity, like we were talking about, and it's going to be, I think it's going to be an interesting and fun year, So I know in our camp they're working hard. They've been playing every weekend. We have the weather to do it out here where other teams don't, but still got to put in the work, and it's just going to take time for them. So it'll be exciting.
Let's move on to the semi-pro division really quick. I don't want to, again, we're 40 minutes in and we haven't even started talking about the pro division yet. So let's jump to the semi-pro division really quick. So over the last 2 seasons, we've had the top 2 teams come out, right? So we go kind of year over year over year, and one team is moving out. I think one other team maybe bought a spot 3 years ago. However, the semi-pro division got pretty stacked, and now over the last 2 years, you've seen the 2 best teams of the division come out and go into the pro division, either through promotion relegation process or purchasing a spot. So this year, going into the first event, New York Wrecking Crew, Preferred Mob. So this is in order of ranking. New York Wrecking Crew, Preferred Mob, Pittsburgh Mastodon, who I've never even heard of, KC Missouri All-Stars, KC Missouri All-Stars, Nasty, then Tiki's Totem, Shut Up We're Trying, Denver Altitude. So has anybody ever heard of Pittsburgh Mastodon?
No.
Okay, just checking. They're the 3rd ranked team going in based on APPA.
It's probably a team that changed their name.
Yeah, but some new stuff coming in, right? So you have Miami Effect, newly created team out of Florida. Does anybody know the name of Mike Hinman's team?
Is it Violence?
Is it Violence?
No.
Los Angeles Collision.
I believe
Collision. Okay, yeah. That was going to be one of my teams I was going to pick to come out of. I think we practiced them about a month ago, and they're going to be good. They're going to be really good.
Yeah. So Jordan Boyum, Ethan Castro, Ben Challenger, Andy Horvath, Evan Middleton, Vince Newell, Avery Nguyen.
Oh, Evan's playing with them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Yep.
They're going to be good. They're going to be good.
Yeah.
And they're with Hinman's system, they're working their ass off down there. So I think they're going to be a force. It's their first year in together, but I think by the end of the season they're going to be a force in that bracket or division, I should say. I mean, after that, I think it's a crapshoot. Kind of like the way it was last year when Fit moved out. It was kind of like, you knew who the top teams were, but it was definitely a dogfight all year in the division. So, what do you guys think? You probably know better than me.
I agree. Wrecking Crew. Obviously, the stories about Collision, right? It's hard to ignore. What is it? Is it Distortion? I think it's Distortion that has some of the Blast Camp crew there. Mike Carr over there. Distortion. And of course, I have a little bias here because they're friends of mine and I like to help out whenever I can. But I think that D2 team that won the series last year and won World Cup that's coming up, Bear Ridge, I think they could steal some events this season, maybe, 1 or 2. But I definitely feel they're going to be in the top 4 this season. So there's definitely a team to keep an eye on.
I don't think that would surprise anybody if they were one of the top teams. They played really well last year.
They really well. Yeah.
And they picked up Justin Bailey from the Hurricanes. They have Mike McGowan, formerly of the Ironmen.
Ironmen. Okay.
They have some talent and experience and expertise there. So.
Yeah, Christian from In the Pits is also adding. I was going to bring these guys up.
I agree.
Outlaw AP Factory has David Duro from Scalp. They have Devin Stewart and Nico Hyde. So they're going to be interesting. Here's why I think that semi-pro is going to be a lot of fun is you have all these either dispersed pros, right? Or some returning pros who are coming back into semi-pro, right? So Jackpot has one of the Notorious guys. I think 3 or 4 of the other Notorious guys are playing with a different semi-pro team. Semi-pro could get really interesting this year. It could be a lot of fun, right? Last year, I didn't think it was really all that interesting. This year, I do. I think it's going to be interesting, right? And again, I always leveled Mike Hinman story because I think he's very interesting. he'll create a lot of chaos. It's going to be fun. So I love, obviously, the Bear Ridge story is really good. I think the Clutch City Oilers could be decent. I mean, it's Texas Demolition could be decent. You know, they've been practicing, working really hard, working out with X Factor quite a bit in the off season. Miami Effect is going to be an interesting story. Wolfpack coming back is an interesting story. Like semi-pro could be cool this year. Could be fun. All right. SK, you got anything on that?
No, I do think Wrecking Crew will be the favorites. I mean, we practiced them all last weekend, so and they're really good. So obviously, and they have, I think, more continuity than any of these other teams. So I think that matters a lot.
Yeah,
legitimate.
Oh, Casey Harris says, "Shut up, we're trying." Looked really good this weekend. He said they picked up Logan Dyer. Yeah, that does make them better.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Shock picked up Thomas Taylor so he can play with his son. Yeah, there's a lot of pros in the semi-pro this year.
And I got to see a look at Shock, and Shock looked pretty good.
Yeah.
And Thomas hasn't skipped a beat, really.
Yeah.
So.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
No, Joey, it's not. For sure. It has definitely gotten some depth. Even since we had you on the show, it's gotten some depth. It's going to be a lot of fun. You guys are going to have a grinder.
Yeah.
All right. So we will start. So we'll discuss the brackets first, and then we'll make our picks right after. So bracket A, Mike is going to discuss that. Bracket B will be Shane Pestana. I'll do bracket C. And then SK is going to do bracket D. So we'll discuss really quickly, give our thoughts. You can even give a grade if you want to in off season. It's entirely up to you. Just give your thoughts kind of on each team in the pool, and then we'll do our picks right at the end. Cool.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, Mike, we'll start with you.
All right. Well, obviously the favorite out of this bracket has to be Legion, coming in from winning the series and 2 events last year. I think Legion has the momentum. Obviously, they have the experience. They've added to their coaching staff. There's been a lot of work done in the offseason. Those guys are mathematical, and it shows. So Legion has to be the favorite in this bracket. Damage was one of the top leaders in the arms race during the offseason, picking up, of course, our friend SK, Chris Shear, CJ Cantor. They just picked up an arsenal of people that not just made Damage better, but gave Damage so many different options, right? So teams are going to have to learn those tendencies again, right? And so that makes them dangerous. Now, Diesel, this could be the field for them. I'm looking at this field. I'm like, there's a lot of chaos out there, and Diesel, when we saw it at World Cup, again, they're going to have that moment. They're going to be hungry coming out of it. I have no doubt they're putting in the work. So Diesel's going to be an interesting team to watch at this very first event. Got to scrimmage against Aftermath last week. Aftermath, a lot of people, looked at them and said, oh, look, they lost, 40% of their roster. They're rebuilding. But some of the people they've picked up are legitimate ballers. And those guys are putting in the work. They're working very, very hard. They're coming together. It's hard to look past them, but they are on a rebuild. So that's something that needs to be taken into consideration. I actually had a couple of points this weekend against the Royal City Sea Dogs. And I have to tell you, I really like those guys. They're playing this field aggressively. They're coming after it. They have great ideas. They, everything about the Royal Cities, they're doing it right. They're doing it right. And they understand that they have a tough climb up ahead of them. But I'm looking forward to, I'm kind of rooting for those guys because they really have a great attitude and they're playing the field well.
Yeah, it's good. SK, thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, Mike did miss that. We picked up Carter too, so that's from ML Kings.
Correct, and I love Carter. I love Carter.
But everything else, I thought he was pretty much spot on. Yeah. I don't have a whole lot.
Thoughts?
There.
Obviously, he did his homework. Damn it, he always makes us look bad.
Oh, stop it.
Yeah, no, it's Damage and Legion are, they're legit, and everyone's gonna go sue them, and if they stumble, it would probably surprise all of us the way I look at that bracket, and welcome to the pro, Sea Dogs. That's a rough.
Yeah,
it's a rough draw right off the rip. So, no. I mean, there's no. We've talked about this last year. There's no easy out in this division anymore. So, and I always say, oh, that's a tough bracket. And then we go to the next bracket and we're like, oh, that's a tough bracket. But that's kind of what it's I'm glad we're not in that bracket. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this one's probably going to be the most entertaining. I don't know. I think C and D could be relatively entertaining also, but if AC Diesel is playing like they were at World Cup, that is going to be one hell of a bracket. It'd be very interesting. And if Aftermath shows up with the same vigor they did in Vegas last year, there's going to be a lot of fun there. A lot of fun. And the Sea Dogs, regardless of whether or not they win, they are incredibly aggressive. They play with a very high tempo, and so they will be very entertaining. They will be very entertaining. They may get the crappy out of them, we'll see, but they will be very entertaining. So I hope they don't. I hope they're really good. So
yeah, I do too.
Yeah. Shane, let's go to you, buddy. Bracket B.
Bracket B. We started at the top with X Factor. They were, I know Fitz in this and they won Cup, but I'm going over, the series, and X Factor was so consistent last year. They were always a team that never an easy game whenever anybody faced them, and they are always applying pressure to you. So I think obviously they're the team to beat out of this bracket. But we said this last year, and there was a shakeup at the beginning of the season, but I think their moving parts are not, they actually added, more depth to that already stellar roster. So I would think X Factor would be the team to beat. Fit, hey, they're the champs right now. So, they just won Cup, and I think that they're, and they got big shoes to fill. And I know I've heard they've been grinding and they've been working hard, but, that's and it's not going to surprise me if they do well, but how did they handle that Super Bowl hangover? Like you hear when teams win a Super Bowl, how do they handle the off season? How is it egos? And, and I don't think they're going to get that. And I haven't heard anything from that camp. All I've been hearing is that they're just working even harder. So, it wouldn't surprise me, but there is a, the World Cup hangover, how to, we'll see how they handle when they run into a little adversity and how it affects them. They'll probably be fine, but that is a factor that is going to come into play. The Canes, we practiced the Canes last weekend, and Les, their coach. I don't know if you guys know who this guy is, but definitely a nicer group without Bianca there.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, just good sense. People. What? The coach is an asshole. Was an asshole. No. They
get sick all the time.
It's like, come on. They they never give you a free out. They are always, they added a lot of pieces. There's a lot of new faces over there. More of the, on the offensive end. Yeah, I mean, a mixed bag of guys, and they all played well this weekend. We grinded all weekend for 3 days against them, so we really know each other really well. And they definitely can do damage in this bracket. They can. They were going on run. And you guys know this layout's crazy. There's chaos out there, so they definitely are going to be a team that less the coach, but definitely a team that would not surprise me. All of a sudden they're playing Sunday, because that's how well they played this past weekend. Energy, God, they blew up that roster. There was a lot of moving parts on that roster. So what does that mean? I don't know if they've been grinding. I don't know where they're at, and they could come out and just be an absolute powerhouse with what they have, but it's kind of a wait and see. You just don't know what you're going to get with them because there's so many new faces, and as we know, our teams went through it. When you get a lot of moving parts coming in, it's kind of it can change the dynamic of the team, and sometimes it takes a couple of events to get your feet underneath you. So but I mean, I couldn't tell you. All I see from the outside looking in, I'm sure they're working their ass off, but there was a lot of changes with that in that camp.
Yeah.
And then Tauntauns, it's interesting for me. Tauntauns did not look good at World Cup, in my opinion. They weren't playing as a team. It was a lot of individual play, walking off wholesale 3 guys at a time, and you're like, that's not the Tauntauns that we normally see. So which Tauntauns are we going to get? Are we going to get the Tauntauns that we're used to seeing that's, this legit, deserve to be in that top 4, get the bye, and don't have to be in the melee with all the rest of us? Or are we going to get the Tauntauns we saw at World Cup where, in all honesty, they didn't play well? And so,
Yeah.
and now they're, they've added some key pieces, that now it's not a Renner player that they had, played on another team last year and now is playing with them with Axel, and they got Fedorov correct. Am I correct on that?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that shows you how much I know about this stuff. But I mean, those are 2 really dynamic players. So definitely a team. If they're the Tauntauns of 2 years ago, they could win this whole bracket. Or the Tauntauns of World Cup, they could have a rough start of the season and see where they're at. So that's kind of the way I see this bracket. I think it's going to, like I said, it could be entertaining. It could shake out really well, but I'm hoping the Canes do well, despite their coach. Because
totally.
Yeah. And was it crawdads or crawfish? Because out here we say crawdads, but they did a crawfish or crawdad boil for us, and oh wow, yeah. That was pretty special.
That question. I can answer that question. So a crawdad comes out of like a river, swampy, red mudded area. Yep. A crawfish comes out of brackish water like you find in Lake Pontchartrain.
Okay. Correct. So it was a crawfish boil, and let me tell you, that was first time for me. That was quite an experience, and we'll think back 2 years. We won't remember, that practice, but we'll definitely remember that boil and the hospitality that those gentlemen gave us and made us feel like family out there. And it was it's always good to break bread with another team and, just talk paintball and shoot the shit after beating the crap out of each other all day. So I hope they have a good event. So
they're great people too.
Yeah, great people.
SK, what are your thoughts on bracket B?
I think that to me the most interesting is the Tauntauns guys, just because. And Pascal's coaching them.
Yes, he is.
Yeah. Okay. So, for me, that's just the most interesting. Just seeing how to add Markey and then add Fedorov, which. Yeah, I think they could be really good. I just think it might take a second just to get it all together, I guess.
Yeah, I think there's 3 question marks here, and it's NRG Elite, and the Hurricanes. You kind of answered that just now a little bit, Shane. We're kind of 3 question marks just because of the mass number of people that the Hurricanes brought in. I think I saw the 5 guys, maybe 5 new players, which I think, 5. So now have a pretty large roster, which can get a little bit chaotic. And then the Tauntauns, of course, only because of the way that they performed at World Cup. So there's kind of 3 question marks in this bracket for me: NRG, the Canes, and FSU. You're saying the Canes look great this weekend, so that question mark gets to go away, which is also really exciting because I'm a huge fan of the Hurricanes, not necessarily because of Mike, but I've known Drew and several of those guys for many years, including their new coach. So I'm really excited to see and hopeful for that group. I think they're a huge fan favorite. I'd love to see them perform really, really well. So, but yeah, I mean, I Shane, you kind of hit the nail on the head. I mean, X Factor obviously is the front runner in this pool, but it would not surprise me to see Paintball Fit create a lot of havoc in this bracket. Yeah. Mike, you got any thoughts?
I do. Several. Yeah, I think you're all right about X Factor. I like the fact that you said Fit has an opportunity to create havoc here. I know this team works hard, and I know they're highly intelligent. I think this is going to be an interesting layout for them. Energy, obviously Alan Buffton had a vision. He's trying to create that, and he's brought in some talent to try and create an aggressive and smart, intelligent system. The Canes, I do want to clarify something. Of the 5, I believe only 3 will be rostered at the first event. I believe that's the case. So I could be wrong, but we'll see. I do know that I really, I love them, and I love that team. They're my friends, and I want them to do well. So to hear you say that, Shane, makes me very, very happy. They have 2 better coaches anyway now. So, and I can speak on the Crawfish Boils. They're fantastic. And Drew Bankston, the owner of that LAX, is an outstanding human being. Drew, love you, man. Hope you're doing well. I scrimmaged the Tauntauns this weekend. The Tauntauns are looking good. The Tauntauns are not what we saw at World Cup. Yeah, I don't know what that was, but it's not around anymore. So okay. I think we're going to see what we want to see out of the Tauntauns at this one. So yeah, me personally, when the brackets first came out, I felt like, wow, when the Canes and the Tauntauns are your 4th and 5th tier, that's a bracket of death.
Could be.
Could be.
All right, bracket C, that's mine. I'm going to start from the bottom. So I'll start with leverage. So New Jersey Leverage comes out, wins 1 event last year, but is consistent enough to win the semi-pro division, gets promoted. I'm hopeful they can put it together and be tough in the division. I do think this is a really good division for them to come into, simply because of the mix of styles that they'll get to play between Edmonton Impact and Shock and Infamous, depending on which Infamous shows up. And then, of course, Seattle Uprising, which I'll move to Seattle Uprising now. Finished 14th in the season standings last year, created a great story late in the year. The addition of Mark Meiderman and Nate Schrader really kind of elevated the team in an emotional way, right? I didn't really notice a lot of different and necessarily in their style, just emotionally, they seem to be much more intelligent, put together, not losing it at the wrong times, not getting major penalties in bad situations. I think Uprising could, like, if Leverage and Uprising both play well, this could be the bracket of death, right? But the question mark really is kind of around Leverage and Uprising, whether or not Uprising can keep it going and whether or not Leverage has enough to really manage some of these other teams. Infamous seems to always kind of be in the mix, but they finished 10th last year, only making 2 Sundays in Vegas and Atlantic City. They added a lot of depth in the offseason that should bear some fruit for them with Trevor Reeser, Rob Velez, Zach Geiger, Nathan Abul-Hassan. I think that Infamous got tougher. They definitely got deeper. They definitely got deeper. I like the additions they made. I think that they lost a really good support guy who went to Dynasty, and now you bring in a guy like Trevor Reeser, who's been in a real program like Edmonton Impact that we'll talk about in a second. And I think with some freedom, we're going to see the kind of Trevor Reeser we used to all talk about when he was able to be a little more aggressive, a little more free. I think a layout like this is really good for a player like Trevor too. I think Geiger helps to relieve a little bit of pressure in the snake. Aftershock should be scary this year. So finished 8th overall in 2024, making 3 Sundays in a row through the middle of the year. Acquired Joey Altimore, Robbie Altimore, Nick Crescione, and Connor Kelly during the offseason. Returning all but one player from last season and making those additions also got significantly deeper. And I think they really got the core of the Bears roster, right? The 3 guys, in my opinion, that kind of held that roster together. And really, Skinny mentioned it multiple times last year, and I totally agree. Seemed like those guys know what's going on all the time on the field. So I think that adds a lot to Shock's support with already a great attack. We already talked about Ryan Hoskinson. I think he had a fantastic season, and totally agree with the remarks Shane made about, when they seemed to be elevating, it seemed like Ryan was playing really well. But I also don't want to take away from what was happening on the Dorito side, because I think that what's the young man that plays over there from the left X Factor to go to them? Yikes. This is what happens when you get old. You start losing your mind. Nonetheless, he was fantastic. So I think that the support got a little bit better, but it was already really good. LJ Parrish, thank you. Yeah, I think LJ was fantastic all year last year, constantly creating a high tempo over there. So, yeah, thanks, Christian. I appreciate you. When you get to be almost 50, you'll understand what I'm going through right now. When it gets late at night, my brain doesn't work as good. Nonetheless, I'm really excited. So Kirill was kind of sending me updates through the weekend about what was going on at practice, and he talked a lot about Aftershock, said that they looked really, really good. So I'm excited to see what they can do. And the last team, really the team that kind of shook up, really the started all the dominoes in the offseason, Edmonton Impact, adding Marcelo Margot, Rainey Stanzak, Tyler Harmon to an already star-studded roster. They lose 3 guys. One's on injured reserve. Sounds like he's going to come back. On paper, this is the team to beat with high expectations for the season. Again, it remains to be seen, but I think with the moves that were made, there's really high expectation. And I think from, the crowd as well. I think the population and culture that we're kind of like big names moving around, the expectation is when we see these big moves. Now, it didn't work out necessarily with AC Diesel until really the end of the year last year. But before that, when moves like this were made, it bear fruit right away. Right. Mm-hmm. So I do think Impact is probably the dog in this one. We'll see. If Aftershock shows up and plays really well and doesn't kind of have the stumbles that they started the World Cup with, they are going to be incredibly difficult. So, Mike, you want to start?
Yeah. So that was a great summation. Impact, right? I think everyone's looking at that roster, and what Bart and Dave were doing with that is, okay, yeah, that's the team to beat. Okay, keep an eye on it. Got to scrimmage or play and see Aftershock this weekend. Your reports are not wrong. They are looking very good, very strong. Of course, you're right. I mean, you had a talented roster last season that was in the mix all last season, and now they just added more talent, right? So or at least more depth, and of course that requires talent. So nothing to take anything away. I'm really interested in Infamous out of all of this. Infamous for me is the one with the pickups here that I think Infamous is going to be the spoiler this year, not just for this event, but maybe for this season. Infamous could be the team to watch. Obviously, I'm a fan of Uprising. I want to see them do well. I really love the fight and the grit in those guys. So, we'll see what happens. I love their story during the off season as well. I think they had a good one. And of course, leverage. Well, like Shane said on the last one, welcome to the pro leagues. This is going to be another pretty serious Impact, Shock, Infamous, Uprising. My goodness, man, you're getting it from all sides on this one. But so it should be. And I think I heard that one of the leverage players, one of their significant players, left and went to Fit. So I don't know if anyone in the comments can confirm that. Let me know. But yeah, that's my summation on that.
SK?
Yeah, I would just say I think for me the interesting team is Uprising, because I thought they were, of these teams, I think they're on the biggest upswing, because once they added Nate, I just saw a dramatic difference in that team. I know it's not just Nate, but I think it is like what you said, like the emotional energy that whatever that did to the other guys on the team and him. They're getting used to Tyler's stuff, and they're, I just think I just really enjoy watching that team.
Yeah, same.
Shane.
Well, to piggyback what you're saying about Nate was definitely the glue. He played really well last year. Talking about another flex player, that was on a team. He was the guy that he won a lot of points for him. With this layout though, their style last year, they really played a lot of long points last year. Those 5-6 minute points. I don't know if you're going to see too much of that on this layout. I mean, at least we didn't see it this past weekend. So I'm sure you're going to have them out there, but it's not going to be the norm, in my opinion. So I think that you talk about those top three with Infamous, Impact, and Shock. Like you said, Infamous could be that team, that spoiler team this year, or not a spoiler, but just more consistent. What Infamous team do you get? You get that powerhouse team that just could actually win an event, beat anybody, or you get our team that's inconsistent, kind of like the way we were last year. We pretty much finished neck and neck at the end of the year. It was that inconsistency. So where's Infamous going to be this season? I think they'll be more consistent because they added more depth, and I think that but this is I think Shock is going to be really, really good this season. And obviously, like you said, Impact's the team to beat. On paper, Impact's the team to beat. You talk about every one of those names that they got are all, they're all starters on any team out there, and they got 3 of them. So, and I think, and it'll be interesting to see that is one juggling job. That's a lot of personalities on that team, but if they can get it to come together, watch out. They're going to be a force out there for sure.
SK.
Oh, on my whole bracket?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I think there's a couple of these teams have had big continuity changes, like as far as Heat, Dynasty, Arsenal's changed some guys and a new coach. NYX has had tons of stuff. Ironmen lost a couple dudes and then added I just feel like there's the most change on some of these teams in here.
Mm-hmm.
So NYX, I think they're going to have a tough time just because they lost so much talent. They lost PK, they lost CJ, they lost a lot of guys and some of the ML Kings guys as well. So I just think they're going to have a tough time. Arsenal, I think, will actually end up doing better later in the season because Chris moved over there, and I think that just takes time to develop with a new coach. It's just going to. I honestly think the Ironmen have the most stability in this bracket because literally they added what? Who did you add, Shane? PK and Jerry? Those were the main.
PK, Jerry, Frank, and
that's right, Frank too.
And Garrett.
That's right.
Yeah,
and then Sea Dogs, right?
Yes,
right.
And he came from the Aftermath camp, then went to Sea Dogs, and now he's been around. They all. Go ahead, and I can talk about my guys after.
Yeah. So I do like that this is kind of like the second year of this team, like this main core. So I do think there will be improvement in consistency for the Ironmen, like as far as not going up and down as much. And that always helps. And that first tournament is so freaking important, like as far as your tier status. Dynasty has picked up a terrible new coach. Terrible. But they have another half that will be straighten it out with Junior. So even though he likes a terrible soccer team called Nottingham Forest, but they did lose 3 guys that played a lot of points. They lost Marcelo, they lost Archie, and Chris. So that's a huge hit. I don't care. They picked up other guys. That's just a massive hit. So I do think they're going to have continuity issues just because of adding all that new stuff together. Heat is super similar to that as well. They lost Tyler, Connor. Yeah. Is anyone else? Was that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Oh, and then they added Fedorov. So that's a massive hit as well. So and then they added 3 last camp guys. Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So I mean they certainly were the most consistent team of all last year with what didn't they have 5 fifths or something like that? It was pretty crazy. But with that much turnover, I think it's going to be they're going to have a lot closer games this year than they did last year.
Yeah, they had 3 5th places, a 6th place, and a 7th place.
Okay, yeah, gotcha.
Very consistent.
Yes.
Yeah, Mike, what are your thoughts here?
I think SK is absolutely right about MYX. I think you might be a little off on Arsenal. I like your theory on how they're gonna improve as the season goes. I think they might be a little surprising. I think I got to get a little quick look at them, and they seem to be meshing well. They've got a lot of weapons on that team. They're aptly named, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. So, but I think Arsenal is going to be definitely one of the teams to watch in here. Ironmen, I think you're right. I think that core that you discussed, SK is true. And of course, Shane knows how to leverage that stuff. You've added some talent, a little bit more depth and some speed. And that's important. I feel like Jerry just came home, right? So no real big thing. And I think Jerry's going to be a thorn on this layout. And I think with some of the other options you have to throw at this layout, you've got to. This is a layout that could be very, very, very conducive to your style. So I think the Ironmen are going to be tough. I'll skip that team with the crappy coach. And then Heat, I think you're right. A big hit there. But I wouldn't compare it to the team with the crappy coach. And the reason why is no, you're right. Both have big hits, big hits. Yeah. Heat's going to be an anomaly at this first event. I originally came out and said, don't look past them, right? Because you still have great veteran players on that team, and they'll sting you. So, and I'd imagine they're pretty motivated. The 3 players that they picked up from Blast Camp, they're already familiar with Heat. They practice with a lot of the Heat guys a lot during the season as well as off season. So it might be a plug and play, like I said last time. So he could, they may skip a beat, but then they may not have as much, panache, but they're still going to be dangerous. Now, to the team with the crappy coach, look past them at your own peril. I'll just leave it at that because they're melding very, very well. And when you've got a motivated team like that team with the crappy coach, but here's the thing, though: the co-coach, he's just as good, if not better.
Better.
Yeah, he's if not better, and he keeps the crappy coach very grounded. So you add, Junior Brown, is an asset that a lot of people, I don't think, fully appreciate or understand, and they will by the end of the season, maybe even after this first event. But I've got to say the new guys are meshing incredibly well. The system is one to be reckoned with, and yes, those were big hits, but I've got guys like Ryan Greenspan, Yosh Rao, Blake Yarber. I mean, I think the team with the crappy coach is going to be okay.
Some serious name dropping there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Serious name dropping there. Yeah, I think this pool again. There's a few question marks in here. Heat, Dynasty, and Extreme, but I think Extreme, as you guys have already mentioned, kind of is the biggest question mark. The big shakeup in the roster, changing names, which is totally weird to me. NYX gets relegated. Miami become, again, I don't know what to call them, Miami Kings or ML Kings or what to call them, but they rebrand as New York Extreme. They bring a few of the New York Extreme guys in. They lose who, in my opinion, was their best player in Kyle Berry. And then, so anyway, they're, in my opinion, kind of the biggest question mark. Still a lot of talent there. I really like Josh Taylor. I think he's a really solid guy, very foundational player. I think he'll, hopefully can have a big voice there and help to guide that ship a little bit. I think Baltimore Arsenal is going to be really good. I may take time, but I think they're going to be really good right now. I do think, losing Stephen O'Mara is a big deal. I still think the Ironmen, I still think you guys are fine, but when you lose a player like O'Mara, it's a big deal. He's a, solid guy. Dynasty, we've already mentioned it. You lose 3 starters, not really just starters, but 3 guys who really, played at almost every point. And then Houston Heat, losing Fedorov is a big loss. I really like the 3 guys they picked up. I think I think they add a couple of elements that Heat didn't really have. I think, well, that's maybe not. La Papa, I think, plays the snake a little bit different than Chad George, so I do think that adds an element for them. But I think a lot of times their middle game, they had multiple people trying to do it. Sometimes it was Yaya, sometimes it would be Ryan Moorhead. It was this real mix and match. You've got really kind of a specialist in Chopin who can do that now. I think on a layout like this, he'll be really, really good because he's also a little bit dynamic and ballistic on layouts like this. I think Houston Heat still has an opportunity to be really good. I really like Ryan Moorhead. I think that Chad George is just disgusting. I know he was on a lot of guys' boards this year during the offseason. I think Houston Heat still going to be really good. But there are a lot of question marks in this pool. So let's pick them. You guys ready to pick them? We've talked about them. Let's pick them. Mike, we'll start with you. Who you got in bracket A? So Red Legion, Tampa Bay Damage, AC Diesel, ASG Aftermath, and Royal City Sea Dogs. Who are your top 2?
So here's the thing. I'm gonna pick X Factor.
Yep, that's the wrong division.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I'm picking Legion and Damage. I've waffled back and forth from Damage and Diesel. I must have discussed it 20 times, but I'm going to go with Damage on that one.
All right, Shane.
I am going to go the same. I'm going to go Legion and Damage.
SK.
Same.
All right, I had the same.
we always have that one bracket that we all agree on.
I know.
Yeah.
Bracket B. Shane, we'll start with you on this one since you did this one.
Okay, and I think we'll be similar on this one. I'm gonna go X Factor and Fit. I think that they, the question marks with the 3 other teams. These 2 are the most consistent teams that are coming out of this bracket, so I think they'll come out of it.
Okay. Mike.
I'm going to go X Factor and Tauntauns, but I really want Canes to come out of this one. But I am going to pick X Factor and Tauntauns.
All right. I picked X Factor Fit. SK.
X Factor and Fit.
All right. And I'm C. I picked Impact and Shock.
Best.
SK.
Impact and Shock.
Okay.
We're really getting out there on this one.
Yeah. I think the wild cards will be big, though.
Yeah.
Yep.
You guys picked Impact and Shock?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm picking Impact and Infamous.
Okay.
I'm going crazy this season.
Got it. Shane.
Impact and Shock.
Okay. All right. SK. Bracket D.
Dynasty and Ironmen.
A little chatter back there.
Yeah.
Shane.
I am going to go Ironman and Dynasty also.
Okay. All right. Mike.
Dynasty and Ironman.
Oh, jeez.
All right. I'm going to take Heat
There you
and
go.
Dynasty.
He
I gotta be
waited till the
different.
last. You got to be different.
I got to be different.
I think on our bracket, the only thing I say, I think that's the biggest question mark bracket. You know, bracket D. I think all 5 teams, there's question marks for everybody. You know, we don't have to go over it, but I feel that's the biggest question mark bracket. You know, so it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. That's my 2 cents on that.
Yes, it really is. It really is. All right. Give me your wild cards. Let's start with SK.
I'm ready, yeah. Tauntauns and Uprising.
All right.
Nice.
Like it. Mike.
Canes and Arsenal.
Okay.
Damn it. I was thinking that route too. I got to go different now.
Jane.
I am going to go with this layout. Tauntauns and Infamous.
Okay.
Here we go.
Infamous is there. And I'm going to go AC and Arsenal.
Yeah.
Oh, AC Diesel. Oh,
All
I'm
right.
an idiot.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I even talked about that. I even talked about it.
That was you guys talked me into Infamous.
It might be the 1 point I need.
No. Is it like once we've called it, is it like taking your finger off the chess piece? Can you?
Yes.
100%. 100%.
Don't second guess
That's
yourself.
why I rotated I rotated who went first and last every time.
Yeah, I like that.
That's why I did
like
it.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that if you were the last one, you could change your picks based on what everybody else picked. Because honestly, I would pick the Ironmen, but I want to be different. So I picked somebody else. That was the only time I was last. All right. I like it.
It's going to be a fun year, boys.
It is.
Right.
It's going to be a great season.
So are you let's do this really quick. SK, who'd you guys practice this weekend?
We practiced Wrecking Crew at Legacy. So,
And how did it go?
it went fine. We learned. I mean, we had 3 days. One of the days we played like 42 points. So, we got a good amount of points in.
Yeah.
What? Well, yeah, we're the only pro team there. It's easier than going to a field that has 8 pro teams at it.
Don't ruin my surprise.
Okay.
Shane, where were you guys?
We were in New Orleans. We played against the Canes for 3 days. The best thing about practicing those guys, you don't have the drama. You know, it's you're there to work together. we're all talking shop. Hey, you bounced me here. Hey, it's just healthy, a healthy environment. It was a great practice, and yeah, I think we're ready. I felt we were ready after Saturday. I'll be honest with you, and then Sunday was fine tuning.
Nice, Mike.
So we practiced everybody and nobody at Tiki's. There was 8 teams down there, but we got looks against the Russians, Tauntauns, Shock Semi-Pro. But there were 8 pro teams down there. I believe it was NYX. We played a few points against NYX as well. So NYX, Aftershock, Tauntauns, Red Legion, Arsenal, Infamous, and Royal City Sea Dogs. It was a party.
It was a party.
That's a lot.
It's a party that no one was having fun at.
Oh.
There we go.
That's not good. All right. And when do you guys get in?
I'll go first. Someone even made a comment about my backdrop. I am here. I will be here all week. So
you'll be here
matter
all
of fact,
week, baby.
All the Dynasty cats are all here. They all went to dinner, and they brought me a wonderful dinner and a drink. So I'm as soon as we get off, I can't wait to dig into my Filipino short ribs.
Nice.
Yeah.
SK, when are you going?
I go out Wednesday afternoon.
Nice. Shane?
Yeah, everybody's getting in Wednesday. I get in early Thursday morning, but all the guys will be there on Wednesday. So we didn't do the whole week like the Dynasty crew is. So but
man, they got a big budget.
Yeah.
They have hotels on the beach.
What?
Yeah.
Who's telling you this stuff?
You posted on Instagram.
Yeah, come on. We see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are eating like sushi for every meal.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, you better.
Yeah, don't get me started on that. I am gaining more weight coaching this team. It's not even funny.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do with them, buddy. Yeah.
They're like hobbits. They have first and second dinner.
Yeah.
There was one thing
true.
I heard that was interesting talking to people about the layout, and we didn't really touch on the layout much, is how one field was different from the other. Mm-hmm. Like, and you heard that certain teams like, oh, no one's making that bunker, and they're like, we made it pretty much almost every point, and they're like, well, you're not going to make it on the field. So it's going to be interesting to see how our actual layout is, because I think with this field, a bunker 6 inches one way or another is going to really change a lot how this breakouts play and everything. So, talking to different teams and scouting those Dynasty guys, hearing all that stuff about them, so yeah, but it'll be interesting. I know that our layout was pretty spot on because the Canes guys are kind of sticklers to perfection. So, but you don't know what you're going to get at the event. You know what I mean? So it'll be interesting to see if there's stuff that you can lock down that you couldn't at practice, or you can't lock down that you could lock down at practice. I don't know. But I've just heard from several teams, talking shop with them, that they are saying these, different situations and different scenarios. So
I actually heard the same. I got a lot of people saying, "Hey, coach, can you do this, that?" And I'm like, I don't think so. No.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think you're absolutely right. I think you get to the event, and just 2 to 3 inches difference on one bunker can make a big difference, especially
huge
on this
difference. Yeah, huge difference. It's going to be we're playing like at least 8-minute points every point that we play. Because it's 4 and back center, and we don't go anywhere. Yeah, we're not running nowhere. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, you can completely lock this field down. You can't do anything, and it's long points.
Super long points. Yeah, Yeah. No, it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be fun. I'm excited about it. So, And,
I normally have like lines on my sheet for, like 12 points, and I had to make it bigger for this one.
Yeah. I definitely think we will see some games that are really a tall number. Maybe 8, 9 per team. You know, the boys are gonna be tired. That's for sure. You know.
Yeah,
so.
David Hoy asked a good question. He said, "What are the stakes this season, coaches? What do the winners get and the losers punishment?" So we still haven't even paid off last year because the guy.
Oh no. We did. Someone canceled it. So I had a flight booked. Everything. I paid it off.
It is not
my fault. Yeah, I was ready to be a redneck and shoot guns and do all kinds of stuff. Like, yeah.
I did not want you to come here and get sick. The house was full of the flu. So.
Yeah. So the payoff for last year is still due. Now the hard part that Mike is going to have a challenge with is finding room in schedules. That's going to be a real problem.
And I definitely owe for last year because I wasn't even coming this one. So I'm gonna have
That's
to
right.
pay my bet.
No one knows that, Shane. You don't
I'm a grown ass man. I always pay my debts, baby. I always pay my debts. Yeah. But
Jen and the kids want to see you anyway, so you got to come.
I'm in. But I should get something for whooping your guys' ass in that, the military, matches.
That's true.
The commander.
That's a good point.
That was fun. That was really fun beating the crap out of all three of you. I'm just letting guys know that.
I was gonna say you did get something. You got the pride of
Shane, they put your name on the trophy.
Hey, you know what? How much fun was that though? That was so much fun.
Yes.
Yeah, it was really.
And hopefully we can do it again this year. It was. I had a great time. That was I had more fun doing that than I had coaching the tournament.
Well, can we bring back sideline coaching? Because it's just more fun for everybody. I'm sorry. It's just, I don't know. The guys yelling, the chaos. I like that chaos. So, I know you guys don't like
net
it.
Down. It's like you guys can't lean against the net. You got to back up. Like you're gonna get shot in the face. Stupid. Back up.
I thought it was great. It was a good group of guys I had, and it was just what a great environment. It really was. Yeah. And then, from what I understand, we're doing 2 10-minute halves for the finals for this event. Is that
that is not true according to Jason. So I'm glad you brought it up because I did want to correct that. There are 2 rumors kind of going around. That's one of them, and there was also like a balls per second thing that was going around. Neither one of those, according to Jason, are changing. So,
okay.
If that is going to change, it is going to be somebody above Jason that makes that decision. But Jason has said that neither one of those 2 things are changing.
Okay.
So
then
yeah.
I vote for 2 10-minute halves. Let's go. Let's let it rip.
Yeah, but the difference, so that would be cool. I agree. However, it would be really cool to know that like a month ago. Yeah, they were going to make that change so that you could practice it before you get to the tournament to make sure your guys like understand the change in tempo, what it's going to look like, how there's a lot of things, as you guys all know, because you were around when we did that. It's different. Like the emotional kind of ride has to change a little bit, like how you ramp up into the match changes, like creating different elements for both halves is different. Like we're going to attack like this in the first, and then we're going to completely throw a wrench in it and attack. Like it would be cool to know that like a month ago if they're going to make that change.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's not what they decide to do. So
okay.
Anyway,
I just like the momentum on a team. When you beat them down, it's fun. I don't like being get beat down, but I think it's fun. So that's what I liked about the old days. So run it up. Yeah.
Although it did get really boring watching everybody like beat up on Ultimate,
Yeah.
Oh, Ultimate. We never got to play them. We never once got to, and watched everybody just crush them, and we never got to play them and get a free game. So pissed off about it. It's like, come on, man.
I seriously think I watched a match where Bob Long played. It was like 32-1.
Yeah.
It was just like at 12-1, you stop paying attention.
Yeah, it was a little ugly. Yeah, I do. I couldn't tell you the guys on the team, but I do remember one of the guys taking off his jersey after the match, and I saw his back. And I'm just like, oh, that's going to leave a mark. Yeah, it was
a whole bunch of them.
It looked like a hornet's nest. He fell into a hornet's nest, and the poor guy was just absolutely incinerated. So I was like, oof, that's no fun. That's no fun.
Real quick, the better half is actually in the chat, and she basically says that all three of you are expected at our home before Cup.
I was ready. Yeah, so was Ryan. Ryan and I were ready.
I was not, so I will be there. You let me know, I will be there. We'll figure it out.
How upset would you have been when you showed up and I'm running 102 fever?
I would have been mad.
Yeah.
I would have just hung out with Ryan. It would have been fine.
Yeah, it would have been okay.
I don't have time to be sick.
That's right.
Not that sickness. No, thank you.
Yeah.
I already had enough people coughing next to me on the plane last night. So,
yeah.
I mean, Jesus.
I'm going to bed.
I'm going to eat and go to bed. It's almost 10 o'clock.
Thank you guys so much for giving up your time to do this. We really enjoy it. It's one of my favorite shows. I think it is my favorite show that we do before each event, sitting down with you guys and kind of hashing through this stuff. Nonetheless, we hope to see you all in Tampa, hopefully at the Summit Award Show Sunday night. Again, that's at 1920 in Ybor City. This episode has been brought to you by Max Sportswear. If you're playing the NXL or Regional League, check out Max Sportswear. Contact Charles today for contingency details. If you want to elevate your game, join BKI. New platform and content is on the way. Use code COACHSHOW to let them know you heard it here. Thank you to Coaches Kevin Bredthauer and Shane Pestana for joining us tonight. Thank you to Major League Paintball, Darren Cessna, Kevin Fillers, Alex Sorensen, and Tom Cole. I'm Ryan Gray with Mike Bianca. As always, be responsible.